DEI, aka didn't earn it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, aka fuck white people, we don't want them here. Let's talk about it.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion claims to fight discrimination by prioritizing underrepresented groups in hiring and promotions.
False. It does the exact opposite. It gives people who are less qualified to get a job they didn't earn.
Supposedly boosting diversity, inclusion, and positive outcomes for everyone. In this video, I'm ranking and debunking the most common arguments defending DEI on a tier list. From the ones
If you defend DEI, you are genuinely retarded.
that at least attempt coherent reasoning, to those built on straight-up deception. DEI increases profitability. This claim argues that the firm that use DEI have seen an increase in performance, as
There is no way hiring someone based on their race over their qualification is going to increase your profits. That makes no sense. Why would less qualified people drive business up?
much as 25 to 36%, according to a notorious McKinsey study. Unfortunately, the often cited study is a fantasy.
Yep.
Attempts at replication, such as Green and Hand's 2024 study, find no link. Additionally, companies that rolled back DEI programs have reported no financial harm from doing so. Multiple meta-analysis on board gender diversity show near zero or negative correlation of performance. Flawed here. If McKinsey's study wasn't a fantasy, this would have been the strongest argument for DEI. Diverse teams are more creative.
Yeah, if it wasn't complete bullshit, it'd be a really good argument.
This claim argues that different cultural backgrounds lead to different ways of seeing the world, leading to more creativity. This argument implicitly assumes that all cultures are equal for any given task.
I could understand this argument for bringing different cultures can increase creativity. This one that one makes sense to me. I would honestly believe that. I get that, you know, like if everybody comes from the same background, the ideas aren't going to be as crazy. But if you bring in different people from different cultures, I totally get that.
Just offering fresh perspectives on how to do things. They are not. The fact that your most recent hire traditionally eats banana and rice doesn't mean he has any real insight into a technical problem.
Sure.
Studies show skill/professional background diversity helps innovation, but race and gender diversity shows mixed to negative effects on creativity. Flawed here.
Interesting. Because I could understand how someone would get to that analysis, right? Like a person who grows up in Africa is going to have some different ideas than someone who grows up in America. However, in the same vein, if someone who lives in America just studies fantasy their entire life, what else is another country really going to add, or a person of a different color, if they all studied the same things? So I can understand how it's also bullshit, but it's close to a good argument.
DEI reduces human bias. This claim argues that human bias plays a part in disparate outcomes and should be fought against. And it's true, humans do have a bias. But I don't see how the solution to human bias is blanket systemic bias. It gets even more ridiculous when you look at who has the most in-group bias. Whites, for example, consistently show the least in-group bias, and yet DEI targets them negatively. Meanwhile, other groups have massive in-group bias.
Of course.
Yet DEI incentivizes it.
Of course.
We see entire companies become nepotistic when certain groups control hiring. DEI's focus is equalizing outcomes, not correcting bias, and it shows. Flawed here.
Yep.
DEI improved.
Man, the concept of DEI is so fucking scary to me, man. Can you imagine like going to like an airplane and hearing that like you have a black pilot that was hired from the DEI program? Or imagine like going into a courtroom and finding out that like your judge was from a DEI program. Like that would be scary as shit. When you have to rely on these people who were put in these positions because they were just fitting a need for that race, fuck that, bro. That is freaky as shit. Absolutely not.
Employee morale. As anyone had to sit through a mandatory HR DEI lecture.
Yeah, or your lawyer? Fuck that.
Can tell you, this one is laughable. In fact, DEI programs have been directly linked to increased turnover and churn, including among the groups that they set out to protect. Weak tier. DEI better serves diverse markets. The claim here is that diverse workforce can tailor products to their own identity groups better. But then why do we not just use this?
I would like to circle back on like tribe culture. I don't think that tribe culture is wrong in any sense. I think it's totally fine if blacks want to live amongst other blacks, or if, you know, Indians want to live amongst other Indians. I don't really understand why someone would migrate to another country that's predominantly white and then say, we don't want any whites here, though, right? Just like if I were to move to China, I think I would have to, you know, learn Chinese and integrate with Chinese culture. I think, you know, there's Americans and they want an all-white neighborhood. That's completely fine, right? If you're in China and you want all Chinese neighborhoods, that's completely fine. If you're in Germany, you want all German neighborhoods. If you're African, you want all African neighborhoods. That's completely fine. But I don't get how a group of motherfuckers can come to another country and then say, this is now our space, you get out. Like that shit we saw in Britain with the Muslim groups, where they said, this is Muslim only. No Christianity, no Christianity. You can't do that. That's where I draw the line. You can't go into somebody else's space and tell them how to run shit. Makes no sense.
Standard merit system. If they actually deliver a better tailored product, then they are of greater merit, and we don't need DEI. And if they don't deliver a better product, then their identity is irrelevant.
Yep.
Customers consistently prioritize price and quality over feeling represented. Weak tier. DEI broadens the recruitment pool, resulting in higher talent. This one is...
No, that makes no fucking sense. That makes no sense to me. If what you're hiring on qualification, you don't want a bigger pool when you're hiring on people who need to hit certain qualifications. Like, yeah, you're broadening the pool of less certified people, but why would you want that?
Just a lie. Because DEI competes with standard merit-based hiring and argues on the basis of hiring for identity. This is obvious. If you're making identity relevant to the hiring process, you automatically devalue merit. There's no way around that.
Yep.
And because of diversity quotas, firms often have to lower standards. Deceptive tier.
Yep.
And is particularly troubling when an emergency service like a fire department does it. DEI...
Yeah, I'll be real. And like, sorry, ladies. Like, once again, sorry, ladies. If you're like a woman, majority of the time, I don't want you to be the person in charge of carrying me out of a burning building. Okay? If I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't want no scrawny ass 110-pound woman, Bernice, coming to save me. I want 330-pound big black Tyrone coming to lift my ass up out of the fire and carry my whole family on his strong black back. Okay? We don't need that shit. I don't want the firefighters to look like me. I want them to look like fucking WWE wrestlers from the steroid era. That's what I want.
It promotes equal opportunity. DEI seeks equality of outcome.
I want a motherfucker who looks like a silverback gorilla picking me up with one fucking hand, like carrying me like a fucking lunchbox.
Not equality of opportunity. It just assumes that disparity in outcome is a result of disparity in opportunity. But at no point does it prove that. DEI competes with merit-based selection. Same as before, if you make identity a factor in the hiring process, you automatically devalue merit. That's the whole point. This is basic logic. Weak tier.
True.
Equal representation in media is good. Representation is good, but deception is bad.
Sure.
Take, for example, DEI practices in documentaries, movies, etc.
It's also very interesting how every white killer in Netflix was actually like black in real life when they do the reenactments on Netflix. I think when people are forcing diversity into making certain skin colors, you know, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like when people are using DEI as an excuse to recast a person of a certain skin color into another color to push a narrative, that's ridiculous, right? That's fucking nuts, right? Also, like when you're forcing diversity to make a white person in a show black just because, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, just make the characters how they look, because it's immersion breaking if they aren't. Like if they were to make Monkey D. Luffy like a German guy, that would be weird, right? Like that would be weird, right? Because he's just like, I'll be real. I mean, I believe they should have made like fucking Luffy some fucking goofy ass Asian guy, but I understand the direction they went with the casting. Zoro casting is absolutely perfect. Zoro is perfect. Zorro, very obvious Asian samurai. They casted an Asian samurai. Makes sense.
Replacing established
But if they were to redo Lord of the Rings and make Frodo black, it's like, what are we doing here? Here's the other example. The new Harry Potter. They recast Snape as a black guy. And who is Snape? Snape is a guy where Harry Potter's really afraid of them and they can't really explain why. And Harry Potter's always treating him kind of badly, even though he didn't do anything wrong, just because he seems sketch. And now it just seems hella racist, right? So like, I don't think Snape should have been black either, because that's making other blacks look bad. And I'll say it, not all blacks are bad. I love black people. Let's keep going.
characters, even historical figures of members of another identity. This signals two things. First, it's a racist insult to the members of the replaced identity. Second, it signals that the people now being represented don't have the capacity to have their own interesting characters or historical figures, and thus need to steal other people's legacies. Weak tier.
True.
Meritocracy is a myth. This claim argues merit is inherently prejudicial, and discrimination is so
That's
intertwined with the human condition that it can't really be dealt with. It turns prejudice into an unfalsifiable demon infecting every...
Ooh. IQ map of the world is really rough to look at, huh? It really is. It's really rough when it's just out there. You know? If you want to see something very staggering, take the IQ map of the world and then overlay the rape map of the world. That is a huge eye-opener. I'm telling you, man. It's crazy the similarities between the IQ map and the rape map. That shit is wild, bro.
Everyone's minds. But here's the thing. We do have objective standards. How much profit a company makes is objective. Whether or not a plane crashes due to an incompetent pilot is objective.
This commercial, do you guys want to see this? Do you want to see what commercial he's referencing? Have you guys ever seen the DEI firefighter commercial? Oh my God. This is a real commercial. Here we go. Lock in.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Firefighters that blame you for being stuck in a burning building. No, nobody cares what the firefighter looks like who rescues them. They just want big silverback Tyrone to slap them motherfuckers on their back and jump through the fucking window and save them like a goddamn superhero. Okay? That's what they want. They want Brock Lesnar to come busting through that wall and F5 them to safety. Okay?
Whether a firefighter has the strength to carry a large man out of a burning building is objective. And since these standards can be objective, merit too can be objective. They only become arbitrary and prejudicial when we start hiring to fill up quotas regardless
Dude, I look forward to whatever animation he puts on this every time. This is so good. Like, this channel is so good.
standards, which is exactly
He
what
got 'em!
DEI promotes. Deceptive
Ow!
tier. DEI corrects systemic and historical injustice. This claim argues that due to historical and systemic reasons, certain populations have been disadvantaged, and action must be taken to correct these wrongs. Here, DEI reveals its post-Marxist colors. Implicitly, it assumes that all disparities are a result of discrimination.
Now, I will admit, when it comes to dealing with police, there are certain races that get the short end of the stick. However, in the same vein, there are certain races, when dealing with the police, that make it a lot harder of a time than it needs to be. And if they were to simply stop resisting and listen to lawful orders, they'd be a lot safer.
Rather than practical constraints. The problem is that that belief is a fantasy. Discrimination does not account for all disparities between groups, not even close. When asked to point to specific injustices, laws, or systems that artificially cause these differences, The post-Marxist consistently fails, but his mind does not allow him to consider non-systemic reasons, as that would be racist or sexist in his worldview. Post-Marxist attempts to correct supposed injustice does nothing except create new victims and breed resentment. Deceptive tier.
True.
DEI is based on a single premise. Disparity is the result of systemic oppression. But that claim doesn't align with reality.
Nope.
And as a result, their initiatives to combat the made-up demons in their heads do nothing but harm the very people they're trying to help.
True.
That concludes the tier list. If there are any
Incredible video. Insane true. Insane base. Like, comment, subscribe.